Welcome to 10 Minutes a Day, a daily reading of the Catholic Church's social encyclicals. Today we continue with Pacem and Terris, written by Pope John XXIII in 1963. It is generally accepted today that the common good is best safeguarded when personal rights and duties are guaranteed. The chief concern of civil authorities must therefore be to ensure that these rights are recognized, respected, coordinated, defended, and promoted, and that each individual is enabled to perform his duties more easily. For, to safeguard the inviolable rights of the human person and to facilitate the performance of his duties is the principal duty of every public authority. Thus, any government which refused to recognize human rights or acted in violation of them would not only fail in its duty, its decrees would be wholly lacking in binding force. One of the principal duties of any government, moreover, is the suitable and adequate superintendence and coordination of men's respective rights in society. This must be done in such a way that the exercise of their rights by certain citizens does not obstruct other citizens in the exercise of theirs. 2. That the individual, standing upon his own rights, does not impede others in the performance of their duties. And 3. That the rights of all be effectively safeguarded and completely restored if they have been violated. In addition, heads of states must make a positive contribution to the creation of an overall climate in which the individual can both safeguard his own rights and fulfill his duties, and can do so readily. For if there is one thing that we have learned in this school of experience, it is surely this, that in the modern world especially, political, economic, and cultural inequities among citizens become more and more widespread when public authorities fail to take appropriate action in these spheres. And the consequence is that human rights and duties are thus rendered totally ineffective. The public administration must therefore give considerable care and thought to the question of social as well as economic progress, and to the development of essential services in keeping with the expansion of the productive system. Such services include road building, transportation, communications, drinking water, housing, medical care, ample facilities for the practice of religion, and aids to recreation. The government must also see to the provision of insurance facilities to obviate any likelihood of a citizen's being unable to maintain a decent standard of living in the event of some misfortune, or greatly increase family responsibilities. The government is also required to show no less energy and efficiency in the matter of the government is also required to show no less energy and efficiency in the matter of providing opportunities for suitable employment graded to the capacity of the workers. It must make sure that working men are paid a just and equitable wage, and are allowed a sense of responsibility in the industrial concerns for which they work. It must facilitate the formation of intermediate groups, so that the social life of the people may become more fruitful and less constrained. And finally, it must ensure that everyone has the means and opportunity of sharing as far as possible in cultural benefits. The common welfare further demands that in their efforts to coordinate and protect, in their efforts to promote the rights of citizens, the civil authorities preserve a delicate balance. An excessive concern for the rights of any particular individuals or groups might well result in the principal advantages of the state being in effect monopolized by these citizens. Or again, the absurd situation can arise where the civil authorities, while taking measures to protect the rights of citizens, themselves stand in the way of the full exercise of these rights. For this principle must always be retained, that however extensive and far-reaching the influence of the state on the economy may be, it must never be exerted to the extent of depriving the individual citizen of his freedom of action. It must rather augment his freedom, while effectively guaranteeing the protection of everyone's essential personal rights. And the same principle must be adopted by civil authorities in their various efforts to facilitate the exercise of rights and performance of duties in every department of social life. For the rest, it is not possible to give a general ruling on the most suitable form of government, or the ways in which civil authorities can most effectively fulfill their legislative, administrative, and judicial functions. In determining what form a particular government shall take and the way in which it shall function, a major consideration will be the prevailing circumstances and the condition of the people, and these are things which vary in different places and at different times. We think, however, that it is in keeping with the human nature for the state to be given a form which embodies a threefold division of public office, properly corresponding to the three main functions of public authority. In such a state, a precise legal framework is provided, not only for the official functions of government, but also for the mutual relations between citizens and public officials. This will obviously afford sure protection to citizens, both in the safeguarding of their rights and in the fulfillment of their duties. If, however, this juridical and political structure is to realize its potential benefits, it's absolutely essential that public officials do their utmost to solve the problems that arise. They must do so by using policies and techniques which it is within their competence to implement, and which suit the actual condition of the state. It is also essential that, despite constantly changing conditions, legislators never disregard the moral law or constitutional provision, nor act at variance with the exigencies of the common good. And as justice must be the guiding principle in the administration of the state, and executives must thoroughly understand the law and carefully weigh all attendant circumstances, so too in the courts, justice must be administered impartially, and judges must be wholly incorrupt and uninfluenced by the solicitations of interested parties. The good order of society also requires that individuals and subsidiary groups within the state be effectively protected by law in the affirmation of their rights and the performance of their duties, both in their relations with each other and with government officials. There can be no doubt that a state juridical system which conforms to the principles of justice and rightness and corresponds to the degree of civic maturity evinced by the state in question is highly conducive to the attainment of the common good. And yet, social life is so complex, varied, and active in this modern age that even a juridical system which has been established with great prudence and foresight often seems inadequate to the need. Moreover, the relations of citizens with each other, of citizens and intermediate groups with public authorities, and the relations between public authorities of the same state are oftentimes seen to be of so ambiguous and explosive a nature that they are not susceptible of being regulated by any hard and fast system of laws. In such cases, if the authorities want to preserve the state's juridical system intact in itself and in its application to specific cases, and if they want to minister to the principal needs of society, adapt the laws to the conditions of modern life, and seek solution to new problems, then it is essential they have a clear idea of the nature and limits of their own legitimate spheres of action. Their calmness, integrity, clear-sightedness, and perseverance must be such that they will recognize at once what is needed in a given situation and act with promptness and efficiency. A natural consequence of men's dignity is unquestionably their right to take an active part in government, though the degree of participation will necessarily depend on the stage of development reached by the political community of which they are members. For the rest, this right to take part in government opens out to men a new and extensive field of opportunity for service. A situation is created in which public authorities can, from the greater frequency of their contacts and discussions with the citizens, gain a clear idea of what policies are in fact effectual for the common good. And in a system which allows for a regular succession of public officials, the authority of these officials, far from growing old and feeble, takes on a new vitality in keeping with the progressive development of human society. There is every indication at the present time that these aims and ideals are giving rise to various demands concerning the juridical organization of states. The first is this, that a clear and precisely worded charter of fundamental human rights be formulated and incorporated into the state's general constitutions. Secondly, each state must have a public constitution couched in juridical terms, laying down clear rules related to designation of public officials, their reciprocal relations, spheres of competence, and prescribed methods of operation. The final demand is that relations between citizens and public authorities be described in terms of rights and duties. It must be clearly laid down that the principal function of public authorities is to recognize, respect, coordinate, safeguard, and promote citizens' rights and duties. We must, however, reject the view that the will of the individual or the group is the primary and only source of a citizen's rights and duties, and of the binding force of political constitutions and the government's authorities. But the aspirations we have mentioned are a clear indication of the fact that men, increasingly aware nowadays of their personal dignity, have found the incentive to enter government service and demand constitutional recognition for their own inviolable rights. Not content with this, they are demanding, too, the observance of constitutional procedures and the appointment of public authorities, and are insisting that they exercise their office within this constitutional framework.